Welcome to those who are here in the room and to those who are watching on the Zoom. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Meehan, Chair of the Trust. Apologies for our staff today. Those of us here in the room, many people have different journeys getting to the meeting today and then possibly on the transport and which is going to working. But hopefully the majority of people are here now and obviously we can commence the meeting. Just a bit of housekeeping. There'll be a question and answer session today. It'll be in the latter part of the meeting, once we should take a break to have the time provided by Club. If you are on Zoom, if you've got questions, if you post them in the chat, that will be managed and someone will mention that, but actually when we get the questions, yeah, we'll pick them up at that point. Okay, again, thanks very much for coming. If I just make a start, and the first item on today's agenda obviously is apologies. We've only had 2 apologies with board members, Dan Silver and Ben Williams. Dan unfortunately not well today, so we can the best wishes to get well soon. And then Meehan. Oh, sorry, and Tim Rolls. thanks, good. We then move on to Chairman's report. Hopefully, you've had the opportunity to read the report. If you haven't, I'll actually just go through it now, and I'll go through it slowly. Yep. Okay. You'll test again.
Yeah. Ray, put your hands up if you can hear okay. I know we've got a few people. Yeah. All 4 of them. Yeah. Well, I think most people seem to have got okay. We'll keep going. Hopefully, it'll be all right. Yeah.
Seems to know what the issue is. It's like they can't hear the volume too sound.
Bit choppy, like in here, Mark. Okay. It may be the Wi-Fi here. Okay.
I'll speak very slowly on this as well. Not just because I normally speak very fast. This year, Chelsea Sports Trust Board was duly formed on November the 3rd, 2022, following our AGM on the 24th of September. I was elected to the board once more, and I was honoured to be appointed as chairman for the year ahead. The following board members were elected to serve on the Chelsea Sports Trust Board in 2022-23. Cliff Auger, Gillian Bromfield, David Chichi, Debs Cody, Paul Hay, Dominic Rousseau, Dan Silver and Ben Williams. Clayton Beerman was our secretary and Stuart Kinner, treasurer. Also co-opted onto the CST board were Robert Blazek, Tim Rolls, Kwaku Amunu Quest and Diane Akers. A special mention to Diane, who joined the board during the year, taking the role of representative of David Chelsea. As everyone is fully aware, last year we had new owners take over the club. And although we congratulate them on their successful takeover at Chelsea FC, we said to them at the time that the hard work starts now. Although it's been a difficult year on the pitch for Chelsea Football Club, despite the money spent on incoming players off the pitch, here at the Chelsea Sports Trust, we have been busy once again this year. And I'm proud of the work we have done in the last 12 months and the positive feedback we've received from you, our members, and fellow Chelsea supporters. And I'd like to thank all these existing board members for the work they've done for the membership and given up their free time to represent you all. There's never been a quiet year in recent Chelsea Sports Trust history. The last 12 months has probably been no different. Fortunately, we haven't had any sanctions or Super League to contend with. We've worked closely with Chelsea Football Club over the last year on many items. We've worked with board members and key Chelsea officials at senior level to promote Chelsea Football Club and its supporters. And through a variety of initiatives, we continue to highlight Chelsea Football Club and its supporters while giving back to the local community. This has included the weekly food bank collection we run at home games for Hammersmith Food Bank. This is our 6th successive season, collecting again for those in our community who are most in need. Thank you for your continued support of the food bank collections. We once again this year held our regular Founders Day at West Brompton Cemetery, and we were pleased that club officials Tom Glick, Danny Finkelstein and Pat Smith came along to the event to lend their support. More recently, As part of our Chelsea Heritage Partnership, we held our first matchday heritage event before the memorable Chelsea Legends game in honour of the late Gianluca Vialli. The Chelsea Heritage Partnership is an affiliation of the CST and a group of dedicated supporters who trace and share our rich history since 1905. We successfully raised £1,350 for the Royal Marsden Hospital at the Those Were the Days event for Gianluca Vialli. We plan to run further events during the course of this season, both at men and women's future home games. Last month, the CST also announced Chelsea supporters visiting Stamford Bridge on match days would now be able to visit the over-the-line mental health hub. This is a new resource in which fans who may be experiencing mental health issues can speak confidentially to qualified mental health specialists. The mental health hub has run for 2 home games so far this season, and the feedback from Hammersmith Ealing and Hounslow Mine staff on duty is that they've had supporters who have already taken the chance for a confidential one-to-one conversation. If we have one supporter experiencing mental health issues with this initiative, it will be worthwhile. Last month, we purchased 100 tickets for the first Chelsea women's home game of the season versus Spurs. We distributed them among schools and sports clubs in West London, with many kids getting to see their first match at Stamford Bridge. And at the end of this month, we'll be relaunching the Chelsea Disabled Support Association after the Brentford home game in the T-Bar on the 28th of October. We'd love to see as many of you there as possible. Finally, the big Stamford Bridge Sleep Out is now in its 4th year, and it's gone from strength to strength. We were delighted to have raised £26,000 this year, an enormous amount for our neighbours' Stoll, which we know will continue to support the vital work that they do for our veterans. Well done to all of you here or watching online that took part in the Sleep Out, and for all of you that donated to help us raise such a fantastic amount of money. The evening was a great success, and it's a pleasure to be joined by representatives of the Stoll to tell us their stories about the money makes such a difference to homeless veterans. We're also fortunate to be joined by Mark Robertson, who's the Chelsea Under-23 coach and members of his development squad, who want to come along on the night to offer their support and see firsthand the great work that Chelsea supporters do. A big thanks has to go to Mark, because also prior to the Sleep Out, he was kind enough to invite Vic and myself down to Cobham Training Ground, along with Terry, one of the Stoll residents, to actually talk and explain to the Under-23 development squad about the Sleep Out and about Stoll. And we were pleased that some of those squad members were kind enough to make a donation to Stoll on the back of that uniform. It also gives thanks to former Chelsea players who are part of our heritage, who also helped out: John Bumstead, Gary Chivers, Kerry Dixon, Colin Lee, Pat Nevin, Eddie Niswicki, Colin Pates, Nigel Spackman and Nicky Thomas, who all sent videos of support. We plan to hold a further big Stamford Bridge Sleep Out next year, and we look forward to continue our successful fundraising campaign. Although the role of the CST is to promote Chelsea and support this, and I'll give an example where we have done in the last 12 months, one of the main aims is also to encourage the board of Chelsea Football Club to take into account the interests of all Chelsea supporters. We look at the CST to cooperate with the club wherever we possibly can, but also we reserve the right to criticise and challenge decisions that we do not think are in the supporters' interests. Since the last AGM meeting last year, we've been in contact with the new Chelsea board on many matters on CST members and Chelsea supporters' behalf. We were delighted that the club responded positively to the representations made over several months since last January regarding season ticket prices. We campaigned vehemently that prices should be frozen to reflect the impact on the cost of living crisis, in respect of what's happening in the pitch at the time. Over many months, we held various meetings with club officials and board members. We pleased the decision was made to freeze season ticket prices, put supporters front and centre within the decision-making process after a difficult decision on the pitch. We wrote to the club in June regarding reports that the club will be final negotiations with an online casino and betting company Stake about potential shirt sponsorship deal. We had already that weekend surveyed all of our membership, and whilst the CST will accept that a number of supporters will always partake in responsible bet, strong 77% of members voted that it was not in the best interest for Chelsea Football Club to associate with an online casino and betting company. Chelsea Football Club subsequently made a decision not to pursue state as the primary shirt sponsor. I will leave it for others to decide whether or not the CST survey had any impact on that decision. More recently, we've met with the club when it was rumoured that they will remove the full coach subsidy for away domestic travel. We said to them that it was important that subsidised coach travel for away games for men and women's teams continue, and removing the subsidy would adversely affect many of our fans and supporters, including young supporters who use wheelchairs, who are ambulance disabled, vulnerable, who may rely on this mode of transport as their only way to follow their team away from home. Despite our representations at the time and arranging the club also, not just to hear from us, but to hear from actual coach users that use that service on a regular basis, the club still decided that maintaining that £10 subsidy was not financially sustainable. We understand that the coach subsidy budget is rumoured to be approximately £250 million a year. That was a very disappointing decision of the club made. Chelsea Supporters Trust therefore decided to part funds the cost of the away travel to Bournemouth on this one occasion. We're pleased since that the women's team's coach will continue to be subsidised with the announcement of the support of a new sponsor. But it's an ongoing priority, and obviously the CST continues to lobby for the restoration of the coach subsidy. And hopefully, if that doesn't happen for one of Chelsea's sponsors, to subsidise away coaches for the men's team going forward. We have raised a number of issues around the ticketing process, the virtual waiting room, loyalty point system, away tickets, poor communication, and ticket availability. These are major issues we have said to the club. There is no easy answers, there's no easy solution, but we continue to raise ticketing issues as we know this is one of the issues for Chelsea supporters right now. We've raised the issues of inconvenience for Chelsea supporters that led changes of pickup time through last season, especially with the moving of the Arsenal away down very short notice towards the end of the season. If the last 12 months have been busy for the Chelsea Supporters Trust, I'd anticipate that the next 12 months won't be any different. So for everyone standing for a board, apologies now. In particular, I foresee two high-profile areas that the CST needs to continue to make representation on behalf of its members. First and foremost, Stamford Bridge Stadium redevelopment. With the stated intention of the new owners to purchase Stoll and then their intention to redevelop Stamford Bridge, it is important that the CSC and Chelsea supporters are at the heart of any future discussion regarding the future of Stamford Bridge, and it's important that supporters' opinions are properly taken into account and continue to support the aims and importance of Chelsea pitch owners in the continuation of Chelsea Football Club at its home here in Stamford Bridge. There are motions today about Stamford Bridge and the future of Chelsea pitch owners later on this afternoon, but if you've not already done so, I would still encourage you, whether you're here today or whether you're watching online, all CST members, to buy a CPO share and become a CPO Chelsea pitch owner if you have not done so. It's never been more important. Secondly, as I mentioned already, the subject of ticket prices. We anticipate that the new administration may want to significantly increase ticket prices next season. If I'm once again elected to the board, I will press the club to keep ticket prices and match their prices. Any increase, if there is one, to a minimum in line with our members' mandate in today's agenda. Our ticket survey in June has been shared with Chelsea. We have made 10 different recommendations to Chelsea in August of this year to improve the ticketing process in the areas of the virtual waiting room, away tickets, loyalty systems, addressing touting and secondary ticketing, including the recommendation of a ticket myth-busting session with key staff and Chelsea supporters. We have more recently shared with them the good practice example that Borussia Dortmund use in their stadium every match day to address touting with secondary ticket agencies selling tickets at inflated prices and looking to put tickets back in the hands of ordinary fans at normal prices. We anticipate further conversations with the club about ticketing starting at next month's Fan 4 and beyond. We really need to be on the front foot going forward into the new year, because Chelsea will start having conversations, I would imagine, from November onwards, that we need to get ahead of the game on that. And then finally, to conclude, I'd like to thank you all for coming today. Thank you for your continued support. Thanks for being a member of the Chelsea Support Trust. Coming 12 months might be a very important year for the Chelsea Support Trust. Thanks, everybody. Right, at this point, as all of the board are standing down, we'll be all about today's meeting. I'll hand over to our secretary, Clayton Beerman, that's the rest of the meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mark. It was mentioned at the last year's AGM that Paul Jeffrey will be a very hard act to follow, and I would like to thank him for the work he's done for the Trust. I'll do my best to serve the Trust best I can, and hopefully as well as Paul did. Personal note, I'd just like to thank Dom and Paul sitting next to me for leading me into the role and helping me out. So if I screw up today, you can blame them. So hopefully you will all have received the email that set out both motions and nominations for the elections. The motions which are listed below are along the lines of those that were to you. Please read and let us know later in the meeting during the Q&A whether you have any specific questions. I just draw your attention to a couple of motions. That would be motion 3, where last year we were referencing and encouraging a shadow board, but as most of you will know now, there has been a plan advisory board set up, and so the trusts are in the motions suggesting that we support the FAB. I would also highlight motion 12, where we're still working with the club to try and get an independent SLO sports liaison officer appointed. With regard to the elections, I'll just remind you what the email says and the process to follow. So there'll be no voting today at the AGM. The voting for both the board elections and motions raised at today's meeting will take place in 2 weeks following the conclusion of the AGM. The voting will take place online through SurveyMonkey, and on the next working day following the AGM, which is Monday, 16th of October, members will receive an email containing a unique link to SurveyMonkey where they will be able to vote in favour or against motions raised at the AGM. So this year, the board elections will be contested by 13 candidates, and they'll be standing for 9 positions that are available. Individual positions on the board will be agreed by the board following completion of the election process, and voting will take place, as I say, from 2 weeks from Monday. By agreement of all candidates, the contents of the candidate manifestos are their sole representation. The candidate manifestos were attached to the email. So if you have any questions on those, then you can raise those later. If you wish to raise them online, any questions following the meeting, then if you could email me at secretary@chelseasupporterstrust.com and I will pass them on. Just to confirm, the manifestos will not be read out today. However, if you require any clarifications of the content of individual manifestos, then you'll be given the opportunity to do so. Just to read out those standing for election to the board, and these are in random order: Dan Silver, Dominic Rosso, Deb Scody, Ben Williams, Olga, Hamza Tuzal, David Chidgey, Paul Hay, Gillian Bromfield, Mark Meehan, John Gordon, Robert Blazak, and Keith Lawrence. As I mentioned, there will be a Q&A afterwards, and just to reiterate what Mark said, that anybody on Zoom, if they could put any questions they have in the chat section. And that's all I've got to say for the time being, and I will pass on to our membership, Paul, for his report. Oh, right.
Hopefully that's a lot better.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, about that. Right. Oh, they're beginning. But I'm just the rule here last and start new websites. Have a look and try and get as much information there as possible, as well as our heritage site. Fact here probably means you have been getting emails, but if you don't, can I just check? Ask them to always check their junk folders. We hear a lot of issues about people not receiving our emails. It's because it actually sometimes goes to the junk folder. So it's always worth checking. We use three main systems. We've got just our direct email, which we send out. We also use MailChimp as our way of sending out messages. Some people I know have problems with that. And the other one, we use Eventbrite. So the fact that you would be invited from Eventbrite probably means it's a mute discussion because anybody who's not here will want to hear anyway. So please always sort of check on there. So if there is anything important that you are sending out, chances are that's where you'll find it going to that. So as I say, if there are issues with membership, please get in touch. But otherwise, thank you very much indeed. And I will shoot on to next part of the discussion, and we'll ask somebody to see that particular mic. Thank you. Okay. Oh.
Right. I'll pick up on treasury support and I'll touch on comms as well. Hello, my name's Don Rosso. With regards to the treasurer's report, it's not really our custom to go into it in a huge amount of depth. You'll have all been sent a copy of it, and therefore trust is doing relatively well. We continue to have a reserve, so I don't think I will touch on anything beyond that. With regards to communications, you would have hopefully seen that over the last 12 months, 2 years, we've put a lot of focus on improving and really making our comms as professional as possible. And we've worked really, really hard to make sure that we've got a proper communication strategy, which from our point of view is working really well. I'm pleased to report that the Chelsea Supporters Trust in 2023 is the most viewed Chelsea supporters group in the country in terms of web hits, news articles, and just mentions within the press. And we've worked really hard. We ran a report and we're beating the likes of Liverpool, United, all of those. So we're working really hard. I appreciate that some unfortunate situations are taking place to lead us to that, but actually we're doing our very best to make sure that we're visible, not just to match-going supporters, but supporters across the globe. And we've had a really positive reaction. We're also working hard to make sure that we're promoting the good work of the Trust and the club across all channels. You would have seen the fantastic heritage events and the over-the-line events, and then other charitable schemes that we're running, and we're making sure that those are going out as best as possible. Expecting next year for this to improve, to increase, and of course we'll take on feedback from our members as best as possible. We'll make sure that there are monthly newsletters so people are up to date with what we're doing here at Stamford Bridge and across the borough and across the country. I'll be around during the break, and if anybody's got any further questions, please do flag to me. And that's my update in terms of comms. If there is any questions from people in the chat, I think we'll do a Q&A in the second part. Please do put them into the chat bar, and we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll get through as many questions in the hour that we'll dedicate to the Q&A. But now at this point, we've usually been break with motions.
So are there any motions from the floor?
Should we start with some questions in the room and then we'll have a short break?
Yeah, you're just I mentioned.
So I think we'll start with some questions from the room for about 10 minutes or so, as Chelsea, I think we're expecting us to finish in about 5-10 minutes. But then we'll have a short break for 15 minutes, and then we'll open it up to about 45 minutes further of a Q&A. So if anybody's got any questions in terms of Chelsea Supporters Trust board for this year and going forward, we'd happily welcome them. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, when we say we're speaking to representatives from the board, who is that? And this Chelsea Football Club board, who is that? What do we say? And what happens kind of as a follow-up after the meeting? It depends. So we have access to Danny Finkelstein, who sits on the board of directors. We've had a recent meeting with the brand new CEO, Chris Jurasek, who was appointed in May and has taken over from Tom Gillick. We have direct access to Barbara Sharon, who sits on the board of directors. And we also, in terms of communications with the owners. In terms of what we say, it depends in terms of what the issue or the item that we want to raise. We met with the CEO recently and we spoke directly about the coaches. In terms of what happens with kind of follow-ups, again, it completely depends. Ticket pricing, we spoke to the board of directors and I said that was directly to Todd and to the outgoing CEO or president of business, Tom Glick. As a direct result of our representations, ticket prices were frozen for the season. I don't know if you've got anything as well.
No, I think the only thing I'd add is obviously we've also written communications as well. So we've written to Tom this year. We wrote to him in March about the prices and we wrote to him in June about the sponsorship. He's very hands-on to give the example of sponsorship. We emailed him on Sunday afternoon. He came back with 45 minutes. He does take what's saying very clearly. Just want to add a thing, just checking the food will be served at 3 o'clock. So the last question till 3 o'clock.
What's the advance in the way to
Nothing explicit. So the question from the floor was, what's the CST's views on the away season ticket scheme? What's the trust views? Does it think it will, we want to stay, etc.? I'm just getting up the, we're obviously guided by our members. The clear majority of our members during the latest ticketing survey wanted to keep the away scheme. We follow the members.
Did they say anything about the 19th that the people who can pay £5,000 less?
Sorry, DJ, can you just elaborate? I'm
19 students.
So the question is regarding the 19 scheme and people who are Westview Club Chelsea members getting access to away tickets. The CST has been very clear since under the old administration, the percentage of away tickets being allocated to Club Chelsea increased. We disagree with it. Our members vehemently disagreed with it during the latest ticketing scheme, the ticketing survey. One of our clear recommendations to the club was to address and reduce the percentage of away tickets which is given to Club Chelsea. And again, the CST is very clear that needs to be brought back down.
What's Chelsea Sports Plus start some internet sports company sponsoring Chelsea, but part owned or financed by Solidarity? Surely that is the same financial situation considered.
So the question is, what's the CST's view on internet athletes with its ownership? We wouldn't comment on speculation. The sponsorship passed the Premier League's test. I think we'll leave it at that.
I mean, was the reduction taken by the direct result of the CST vote about the sponsors?
So the question is, was the subsidy for the coaches a direct correlation due to the date?
No, VLP fund, where you made thanks to the club, like options to have them across the church. Do you think that that was a direct reaction from the club to withdraw the coach subsidy?
No, the club very clearly said that it wasn't their quotes is financially sustainable.
I think what I can add on that particular point, the majority of decisions that the club have taken recently were made in May of this year. So the financial decisions that people have seen, whether it's been the increase on the price of a programme, removal of the coach subsidy, most of the financial decisions will be taken from May. The state issue did not arrive until sort of like towards the end of June. So the decision already been financial decisions already made by this. I don't think they're connected. So I don't think it's a retaliatory thing by the club. What, on the club's part to remove the subsidy?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's an important decision. Yeah, it's an important decision the club have made. Like I said, I come back to one. I remain optimistic that if they've agreed to sponsorship for the women's team, and I think the tips are lovely on this. Yeah, I remain optimistic that there's a chance then that coach subsidy might appeal to a future sponsor coming in, be they Infinite Athlete or somebody else. I think the only one to come back on the DJ's question on about away season ticket. Again, for everybody else as well, it's on page 23 of the ticket survey. Obviously, the response of members is on page 23, where there's still a strong support for the away season ticket scheme and a strong support from members who are loyalty system to remain. And there's examples given in the ticket survey, people haven't yet had the opportunity.
Sorry, I'm just going to put my way. Yeah. Who are the sponsors?
It's the health yogurt company. I don't know the name. I could get the information for. Yes, health yogurt.
Okay, I'm sorry, to go clarity. Just to clarify, when we talk about 77% membership fund, that 77% is the fund, that 77% of the membership.
77% of people who vote.
And usually, what about the membership?
I can give you the. That's fine. I'll give you the explicit. I don't know the explicit figure off the top of my head. I will get it during the break and we'll address it when we return. It's in the public domain. Sorry. Let me clarify. 77% of the members who voted were strongly against the implementation of state. That's absolutely correct. Hi there. That's fine. I'll get that clarity and I'll provide you the figure. Hi there. Absolutely. So this was a one of our members messaged me saying, Dortmund's got this fantastic scheme in which if you have purchased a third-party ticket for an inflated price or a black market or a tout or anything which is not kind of an official route, the club have these amnesty bins or an amnesty email address in which you can physically drop the ticket in, or you can forward on the blacklisted ticket to the club with no repercussions on yourself, and the club will investigate, find out where that ticket was sourced, who purchased the ticket from the club originally, and will then be able to trace it back and take action against that individual. But again, it's got no repercussions on the person who has originally bought the ticket. We think it was a fantastic idea. We think that the club needs to improve their communication with supporters. One of the biggest gripes that we've got is that the club are really poor at communicating what they're doing to combat touted tickets in secondary markets. So we pass this on as a kind of example of how they can start to communicate what they're doing.
Wouldn't take that out. balance the cost. There's no other way. Well, yeah, the car presumably sanctioned this relationship before. So it's a bit of interesting taken with illustrate some of the past comments about touting, and they're frankly sanctioning people being ripped off by sports bike. How the hell can they justify looking in our eyes and saying they're against touting, but on the other hand, want to do sports bikes for the bloody hell? Sorry, Lorraine.
I cannot disagree. We cannot disagree.
No, sure.
The single point that you're making.
Please agree up. Take some of what they say with a pinch of salt when they claim to be against something.
It will be interesting to see how that changes in January. For those who don't know, the one-day travel cards actually being withdrawn by TfL. It'll be interesting to see what changes there. But we completely agree, and we flagged to the club that it's completely illogical to be charging that amount and to be allowing sports breaks. Mark raised it with the club very recently. Okay. And that is agreed.
So just a quick point on the shop-side coach travel. It's been sent back for a while. I'm sure you have suggested first. You might consider doubling it to 20 pounds, which still be a subsidy, and then roughly 250 grand cost of bringing it out of it. So
you're absolutely correct. Don made reference to we met the club CEO, Chris Charity, and myself, Cliff, and Don. We asked him 3 times, would he retain the subsidy? He said no on each occasion. We made various suggestions. You give a very good example there. Even if they couldn't, shall we say, return the whole subsidy, there could be different pricing. So, for example, if you're going to first game with Bournemouth, I know we subsidise that. If you're going somewhere near like Aston Villa, you might have a much lower price than earning on income, but there'd still be a subsidy there. Spread it over across the season, or, for example, maybe not run coaches nearby, but retain the coach service a further distance away and then work at the same time. We made a variety of suggestions, but at this stage, the club's position due to financial sustainability was they were moving the subsidy, but we will keep monitoring that. Your example of the common sense.
And the coaches is not the only, and I'm going to put it, penny pinching initiative that the club has introduced over the last few months. We've seen the programmes going up by 50p, price of food at the bridge has gone up by 10 to 15%, the shirts have gone up by a £5, even I believe the youth games have gone up by a couple of quid. It's small margin, but actually people who are attending week in, week out, it can make, at the end of the season, a couple of £100 extra that you're spending. And in the year that we've broken the transport per record twice, for me and for the Chelsea supporters club, doesn't really sit right. Why should you guys and us supporters be hit before we've maximised our commercial revenue? And that's the promise that we've given last year. The club went on record saying we're going to maximise our commercial revenue, and then if we have to speak to the supporters and look at the supporters and the price that they're paying, we will have to do so. But it's being done in reverse. We've communicated this in no uncertain terms with the new CEO, Chris Jurasek, and we've gone on record saying we're still unhappy with the penny pinching methods that have been introduced in the last few months. Fine.
I think we should maybe take the break.
We'll take a break there. We've got plenty of time for questions. We'll come back to the points that the gentleman raised. If there are any questions in the chat, we'll answer them. But should we have them?
20-minute break, everybody. Chance to catch up.
Leave the chat with them before.
Okay.
A couple of minutes. Or we can start now. Can I just remind anybody on Zoom, if they have any questions for the meeting, please put them in the chat box. Thank you.
Before we go, I'm just going to address the point with regards to the stake survey. I've looked back and it was 3,297 CST members who voted either strongly or disagree, or strongly agree or disagree, and that was 77% of the votes. people on Zoom will open up to questions via the chat and they're saying in the room. Question that we've had during the break was there's a lot of frustration amongst supporters about the lack of information available on the BWR, how it actually works, what the heck goes on half the time. What are we doing about that? I think one thing that we've suggested to the club in the last couple of months is we would strongly encourage them to hold some sort of myth-busting session. I think one of the biggest problems with it is that it's called the waiting room. The club have communicated that it's not actually a waiting room and you're never in a queue. So it doesn't ever match up. So the club have actually committed to holding these myth-busting sessions with the head of ticketing and other key members of the club, and we will absolutely make sure that they do that and they follow through on that. It's really important that supporters are able to ask their own questions, they're able to give insights. We put a hell of a lot of money into this club every year, and the fact that we're unable to ask the people at the top those questions ourselves, it doesn't make sense. So that's something that we will certainly take place as soon as possible.
I've got a question from the
From the chat.
on the chat. Yeah, the question that we've got: what are the CST's views on the current ticket exchange on the club's website, and is it true the clubs sell on at a huge inflated price? I guess secondly, I can answer that. I guess what the club do is they sell on at whatever the face value is of that ticket. So as season ticket holders, we pay slightly less if you divide all the games by 19. That's what we get, but they sell it on at what the normal price would be. So it wouldn't be different than somebody just buying a ticket online in the normal way.
The question is, what happens to that difference? So season ticket holders purchase their ticket at about 15% reduction. So Matthew Hardy know it's approximately 40 quid for a season per game for a season ticket holder. I think it's about 60 to 65 pounds for a general admission. What happens with that difference? The difference is then donated to the Chelsea Foundation.
That's after administration costs.
After administration.
I think the thing I'd add about ticket sharing, again referring back to our ticket survey on page 17, that would, sort of concur with your point as well. There was a very positive response in the ticket survey to the use of ticket share, and it's a mechanism why people who aren't get tickets to other mechanisms can still get tickets behind that. I think in answer to the question as well, I think if there is any evidence that anyone's actually acquiring tickets through the ticket share and then subsequently selling them on flat prices again, if that does happen, I'm not physically seeing that. If it does, the club has got a dedicated email address called tout info. So again, if that is actually happening and people's got examples of that, I think that's something in place with the club. We had examples recently, because again, comes from the survey, that ownership sector particularly, where members come to us and we share that with the club. And these are physical examples where it's hard, evidence, as much as they've got a photograph of the season ticket that the person is using. But that's been shared with the club, so they will take an action there. That's almost like the evidence you almost need, to get some season cancelled or membership cancelled. What we also set the club on ticketing as well is their communication could be a lot better, and we've suggested to them that they actually should do frequent communication with field supporters in the same way you get your regular email every Friday, looking forward to the game on the next day. I think most sports get that by now, or you get an email on a daily basis saying, do you want me to new kit on the next one? Well, in the same way, use those mechanisms to the very big data to share what they are positively doing to tackle touting and tackle what they're doing about secondary ticketing. Again, supporters don't know what's happening. You don't know what's happening, people speculate. So you've got hard evidence, share it.
Next question following on here is about membership and loyalty points. Would it be better to have a rolling 3-year period for membership loyalty points rather than losing points at the end of the season? This is a tricky one because when we actually look at the survey, there were so many different views. There wasn't a one view only. So it is a very tricky one. Some people are happy just 1 year, others want 3 years, somebody want lifetime So it's a tricky one.
The one I think stance has been clear. Loyalty has to be rewarded. We fed back to the club and we were very clear that loyalty must continue to be rewarded in some capacity. We maintain, and our members are very clear that the loyalty point system must be maintained and that must not go. The old administration was very keen not to create a closed shop, which the suggestion was if you rolled over loyalty points or did every game on loyalty points, if you were successful at the beginning, you would never be out of that group. And I think that's a conversation that we're going to have with the club in the next few months before the updates to the ticketing policy are made about how you can reward loyalty whilst allowing people to maintain and continue to go to away games.
And I think to add to that, to get on Paul's point, if you look at the ticket survey, we've got copies on page 21, where we asked the membership to be split 3 ways. It's almost like a third split. So a third of the membership said loyalty should be the current season only, a third said it should be 2 seasons, and a third said 3 seasons or more. And so again, we have to work that through, as I said earlier today. We need to be on the front foot starting from next month, because the first meeting that ticket starts in November at Stamford, and then there'll be broader conversations over the year. So we need to be guided by the membership of what our stance will be going forward. Totally agree with you about that. Well, we should accept it isn't. Is short must be member. I've emailed the club, they called me and said that there isn't. But there is, and I'll tell you how I know. Because the number of loyalty points members needed in order to get a season ticket at the start of the season meant they got a ticket for every home and away game last season. Now, who in the world is that lucky? To get through the virtual waiting room 38 times in the season, if you're that lucky, you should win a lot of Chelsea to get on. So there is a way around it, and that's why the current system if you've got that. I think that's the advantage of people. That's not fair.
We've fed back on a number of occasions to the club about that exact thing, and the club remain adamant that there are no workarounds, and we've continued to flag it. From a supports trust point of view, all we can do is say to the people at the top, our members, yourself, other people similar to you are coming with these concerns. Please can take them on board and do something about it, and again communicate what they're doing.
And identify which supporters are getting the tickets. Not someone's getting a form on their behalf as a friend and family, but they are physically getting through the waiting room. Look at the data, look at the people who are getting through the one cost every time they go on sale. And if it's the same people, they cannot genuinely say there's no workaround because nobody knows.
Yeah, I think the other to add on that particular point, and not make reference to one of our recommendations in the survey is that. I think that's really important. The club hold that session, and actually, having supporters like yourself, having a big open meeting, use one of the group here. I think a lot of people turn up for it. Why we suggest that to the club is Manchester United, bigger stadium, but the same issues around demand and supply. Manchester United held out with supporters. It doesn't make more tickets available, but what the Man United court said after that, having met with the box office manager and their staff, they understood it better and they felt they were heard. And that's really important. Sometimes you don't get the answer you want, but sometimes it's really important that you listen to and people understand your frustration. Yeah, and then they try and answer your question. They can't necessarily give you a certificate game, but they actually treat you, hate that because they want to treat you as a customer. Yeah, if you want to be a customer, well, obviously you have to deal with the customer's inquiry when the customer comes in. Absolutely. And I think the other thing as well is back to that communication on LinkedIn. Clearly, not everybody here is on social media, but there are people advertising on social media for £300 or £400. Yeah, the club will be aware of that. So if the club are aware of that, they might be actually taking steps to address that as well. But it comes back to communication as well. Then if they are doing things, okay, they won't let you all their secrets, because if they do, that might give people an advantage opportunity. But actually share what you are doing, stop ending up in the hands of the wrong people. But the other thing I had then on your point, when the ticket survey was shared to the club, I made exactly the same point that you made. Actually, about season tickets, you must have the data to see for every game last season and this season who are the first X hundred in the virtual radio. And if it's the same thing every time, that's just impossible.
Yeah, I've actually got a question about it. I'll sort of keep it going. It's all about loyalty as well, and it's about the family feeling of the club, which I think is quite positive. And one of the things I don't feel that the owners get is the family feeling of the club. They want to sort of get families in, but I don't feel that they understand the old family. And one of the things that is worrying us, not quite a lot, but quite a lot, is this rumour, and again, communication is the problem, that tickets in Matthew Harvey Upper, for example, so in the front of the middle, are likely to rise significantly. Now, I haven't been lucky enough to be one of those people who lives in near the front, near the middle, and we've had those tickets since not quite open, but not long after. We've got like 15 tickets wired together. The row behind us luckily turned out to be people on coaching to away games with. We've probably got about 30 of us around us that are all a gang of old friends. We've known each other 30 or 35 years. If some of those tickets go up, some people will walk before them, most people won't. We'll be plumbed to the floor for corners, basically. Some people, and I don't think that we're really worried about that. That's what they want, and they want it to use it as a sort of, a bit like the women's game. You can buy the 4 tickets and you get the top row guaranteed. I just feel it's one of those things that's not really brought forward because it doesn't affect loads of people. It affects loads of the front, the in the middle. But it's really important, and it's really important for a whole sort of family thing. When you break up a group of people who've been together 35 years, we cannot. We decided we want this, we all go together. We're not all in touch with it. Sometimes some people don't, but we couldn't organise ourselves, and there isn't a block of 35 seats somewhere else. And the whole thing, and I'm just hoping that is one of the things that you will be.
They're the people you've always gone to Chelsea with, and you love going to Chelsea with. I summarise. So the point, I don't know your name, sorry. The point that Kim made in the room was this rumour, and I must emphasise it is a rumour, it's speculation that there are going to be some sort of tiered price increases. So I think Kim was suggesting that the rumour is that if you're in the middle or the front, you'll pay more in the increases than somebody in the corners. Is that your actual price? This is speculation, but it's speculation that I've had quite a few times in the last year. And as we all know, there's usually no smoke without fire. So I must emphasise it's speculation. There's been no kind of communication or clarification on that. I completely agree. I have nothing I can disagree with what you say. It would be a travesty, especially because it will break up big groups of people who constantly go to football together, and that's their memories. That's what they love. I'm sure we all have the people, the same miserable faces that we see every other week. But actually, that's what makes going to football. You love it. And if this rumour ever comes to fruition, you will see, I'm sure, people having to choose whether they continue to go or they actually say, it's my day, and I think that would be a real shame. And it's something that we will fight, and I promise you, I'll figure my way up fight until I'm grey and I've got less of a hairline than I do now. Because it's important that people's voices are heard. And if that's the decision they make, they need to be fully aware of the feeling of supporters and feeling in the room.
Can I just, another very quick thing on this is the whole thing about the paper list and the online. I know some people who are older than me, who've been going longer than me, and are not regularly online, and are finding it really, really difficult. And I'm sort of talking about ongoing anymore, I think that's great. And I would add to that the fact that the ticket office is never, ever, ever open to me. And I think if I need to go just a little bit, and I speak to someone who used to go to away all the time and now can't, my mobility can't stand up in it, you know. And I used to be able to go along to the ticket office, and that was when I didn't need a seat down the front. But you know, if you buy a ticket online, you're just buying a ticket online. When you can go to the ticket office, you can go in and you can say, what have you got? Can you have a look at the front? Can you get? I mean, I have spoken to someone that doesn't up to people on the phone, but they're just talking to people on the phone. I can't see what they're talking about, and they sort of say things like, "Oh, I can try to wait tomorrow," or something. But all I'm saying is that I wonder whether we can say, look, every whatever one afternoon or whatever that the ticket office could go, and also so that people who do have problems doing stuff online and talking could, and also could we have seriously, not everyone finds it easy to do things virtual tickets. And I've seen people at the Stamford, you know, going absolutely crazy because their phone is going down, or all sorts of mess like that.
Yeah, really, really good points. And on your first question, yeah, we are a family-owned community, and no one wants to be a family. On your second one, although, you know, in the ticket survey, there was a strong response from the membership about people supporting the idea of mobile ticketing. Having said that, I was working with an 80-20 ruling, and it was almost like 80% said in favour. What about the other 20%? So, although there's plans to move to mobile ticketing, one of the messages we've given to them is obviously that's the direction of travel, but think about the other 20%. They don't just go big bang, 100%, because, you know, there'll be many Chelsea supporters. We know some of them, probably many people in this room. I know at least one. I get his tickets for him. Yeah. Yeah. And we probably have many examples like that. Again, the point you make, we're a family, we're our community. That's the sort of thing we do on behalf of our family. Yeah, we help them out and get tickets because they can't find their way through technology and the internet. And also the fact that the average age of our supporters. I mean, gentlemen made a really good point. It's the youngsters who find their way through the virtual waiting room. Well, actually, we've got the oldest season ticket support in the Premier League. So there's probably an age thing as well. Give it 20 years, it won't be an issue for Chelsea because everyone will have online tickets. But there is a generation that prefer to do things manually and really like the idea of seeing the human being. So again, we will continue to lobby and push at that session on ticketing where you actually meet the box office staff, and I'd make sure that we invite you along to that meeting. I think it's really good to have you there.
Just to add on to that, I'm aware with the mobile ticketing, you've got to provide a considerable amount more data than you already have to do. I'm sure some of us would be happy to give across our data, but there are also people who are really against that, but that's well within their rights. And so another representation that we make, and we flag that actually it's not right that people are demanded effectively to sign up to the mobile ticketing system. You have to provide all this additional data that you've never had to. I've spoken to people in this room who've been going to Chelsea for a lot longer than most of us, and they're just not prepared to do that. And I think you'll see, and it will be a small percentage, let's face it, but you will see a percentage of hard and loyal Chelsea supporters who've seen this stuff through a hell of a lot of time. They actually, I'm not prepared to do it.
I would anticipate, Kim, because what the club obviously planning to do is obviously launch at some point between now and the end of the season on a software basis. But what they have said is they will probably have sort of supporters involved in that. Yeah, call it a focus group or something. So they won't just do it, but they'll actually test it out with the supporters. And the best, probably 20% to test it out, is those where technology is sort of like the hardest thing to overcome. So I would say they'll do it, but it'll be a very slow burn.
So I think a question from Zoom. Besides the penny pinching measures already seen, what changes do you foresee in the future? Should fans be concerned about more than just rising costs?
I think I'll answer that. I'll bring it back to what I said in terms of the chair's report. I think there are two major issues, and the issue, that people need to be concerned about potentially. I think there are only rumours, and there are rumours but there is that rumour that there'll be a significant price increase. And I think people are alive to that possibility. And the example King's given, we've seen the example of the women's team recently in the Spurs game, where depending where you sat in the stands, there was a variable price increase.
I think just to add, one thing that we all love is what makes Chelsea Chelsea. What is it? Is it the people that we see? Is it the feeling? Stadium's changed beyond belief in the last 50 years. Even the crest has changed. About the badge. One thing that we as a trust will be focused on is not losing what makes us such a unique club. And I think that's one thing. You can be that shiny product that we all see at Manchester City. They're that shiny. They've got much of an edge to them. Make up your own mind. We've got that grit and determination that we love. And if we continue on the same trajectory, I can quite clearly see that being eroded down even more to where we look at this club and thinking, we've still got that same attachment, it's that belonging. If that gets removed, what is it? It's just a group of 11 blokes and 11 people on the football pitch.
But carrying forward last season, previously, I've applied for everyone to get. Well, I tell you what, I'd love to be here virtual waiting Monday because my loyalty points is slightly exceeded for 2017. I don't know anything to the virtual waiting apart from one game. So I think the current system is there. I'm not saying what they. And that's why I find it strange, which is what made me ask the question about percentage, is that everybody says they want the loyalty system, yet all we hear at these meetings, all the mums on Facebook and various other things, the system is flawed. And so I'm not sure what you're asking the right question. I don't know the right question is, but I wonder whether we are actually asking the right question in the right way. I think the question is right, are we asking the right way? So we've got to do it. And I have no idea what 3,000 is a percent of support stuff, but I don't know if it's significant or not. I don't know what it is. So what I'll say is we have to caution that this is the view of the politics. Yet we're all saying what a public system is. Our survey says we want to do. So I find that, and I just don't understand that.
I think clarity. Ticket policy is clear and it says that if within the first month of the season an away game is played against any team in London or the Bournemouth or the Brentford or the Watford, which have got reduced allocation, they'll be sold on loyalty points. We've had in the past games which are kind of within the first month but are not sold on loyalty points. So 77% of CST members said they wanted a loyalty points based system. And in terms of the split, there was a 30-30 of members who took part.
Is that specifically big percentage?
I don't know. I don't know.
But sorry, I'll just say that any voting system, we can only go by the people who actually vote. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Is the percentage of the whole revenue very, very small. I feel it's a misdemeanor to suggest that that's the view of the Chelsea supporters. I'm not saying this, by the way.
Point taken on board.
I'm just asking, I never got annoyed, and I understand anything about the waiting and the subsidy. What I'm not quite sure is that why is someone who purchases a discounted ticket half the price of the ticket to a home game, expect them to be given discounted travel as well. There are loads and loads of Chelsea supporters trusts that come to Stamford Bridge every week and pay £65 for a ticket and cover all coaches. And I don't see the cost subsidising them. And they make a decision that they're going to support Chelsea development to play Glasgow, who's going to cost them a lot more money than we in South London. But the reality is, they made a choice. And anybody who buys an away ticket has made a choice. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have something, but that's why we're making such a big thing of something. When you make a choice, and I haven't noticed that the away ticket to get any issue to get as a result of the policy. But I just find it a bit strange that we think that's a major thing. Bear in mind, all the other stuff that's going on, and like you talked about ticket prices. If they're going to subsidise, if they're going to keep prices up, they've got to get income. We may not like the way to get the income, so they've got to.
That's fine. I just think the point that we've made before is, in the general grand scheme of things, is it a significant subsidy for the club? You look at it on the no, it's not. Your point's completely valid, and if that's your view, I'm not one to ever disagree with that. We had a significant number of our members coming to us saying, disagree with this, it's unfair, X, Y, and Z. All we can do is represent their views and bring all the views together and make sure it's coherent.
I think the other thing I'd add about coaches as well, you're right, it is a small issue. It's the principle. Yeah, and that's the thing. The number of people that use the coaches probably is only about 150 people in the course of the season. But for them, it might be the only way of getting to the game. It's the principle of it that it's how it's regarded by the people who don't need to go on the pitch because they can afford a much more expensive. But they actually see the principle of it and in the grand scheme of things, in a spreadsheet in the bottom line. That money for the coach is probably 0.01% of a £1 billion budget.
It was part of the Premier League mandate that they had to keep money for a while, and that's been stopped now.
The Premier League has stopped that sort of stuff.
Each club decided how they were going to use that fund. Chelsea done it on subsidised travel. Arsenal, for instance, could put £10 off the ticket. So, in a way, Arsenal is a bit more fair and because it pays for all the people going away rather than.
So excuse me, the problem that we've got is if we just haven't that, the people remotely are not going to be able to hear what's going on. So I think it's only fair if we get a question, then we can answer it. Always great discussion. I fully appreciate that. It's very difficult to us to be able to repeat it. Yeah. No, yeah, as long as we can repeat the question, that's fine.
Do we know how many? Yeah. There's actually 2 clubs in the Premier League. Chelsea.
There's an extra.
Down now.
Yeah. Sorry.
You mentioned programs, loads of room stuff, and then the soccer program. Chelsea's the only club, I think, probably in the whole of football, in the spring program that every single first 2 games, that's every day they play up until Monday, the first or all the second or fourth matches, all three players. We're really expecting current stuff. How do you use it? Unfold. Sports, or have you put that to?
So the question is, from Dave, there's rumours amongst supporters that the club are looking to cancel producing a printed programme, and that the club haven't produced a yearbook for last season. What are our views, and will we put this on? This is rumour to me, DJ, that fills me with dread and real frustration.
The Premier League mandate that every club has to produce a written programme. It's come from the Premier League. It has to be done. The yearbook is separate. It's like Chelsea have decided not to do the yearbook this year, but that's not mandated from the Premier League.
If the mandate is removed or changed, we will make sure the club are fully aware that supporters want a programme. It's, as you say, it's within our history to have produced a programme forever. And if they were to remove it, it would be a spit in the face of people who have been going to Chelsea forever. And so we'll make sure that they are very clear. You would have seen this season, the programme's gone up by 50p, and in my personal opinion, the quality has decreased. Not just, they've reduced it by a significant number of pages, and also just the physical quality. You used to have that nice glossy paper. I'm sure we've all got them clogging up our lofts at home when we were kids. Used to be nice glossy paper, and now it's kind of the flimsy one. So we'll make sure that that is picked up, and I'll follow that up, DJ.
Only £1, yes. So, quick question from the Zoom. Do the board agree that the club's recent decision to ban children attending matches at the bridge without an adult should be for 16-year-olds too?
So this was frustratingly communicated to supporters in the middle of the night without any kind of them flagging it to any sort of body or supporters. It was really frustrating. The club came back very quickly and said that obviously historically under 16s were able to attend, and that the decision was made after they'd seen an increased number of unaccompanied children. Basically, parents were dropping their kids off and they were then having to be accompanied by stewards because they were underage. Premier League clubs, pretty much all Premier League clubs have this as a kind of a regulation, and so the club simply said we're bringing it in line with other clubs. We were frustrated that another hurdle was placed in front of young supporters attending games. It's expensive enough, but the next generation of Chelsea supporters need to be supported coming to Stamford Bridge. And again, it's another hurdle, but we accept that it brings our policy in line with all other clubs, and so we accept that.
What trust involved in the decision whereby search support delivered a long way away. Right. That's a no. Search support delivered a long way away. Then people online security with money. They've got so much basically the passport of driving license and everything to do with show that they're all real support and do support activity. So I'll repeat the question and Mark. The question is, a couple of weeks ago, a number of Chelsea supporters who were attending the, I think it's numbers, isn't it? Who were attending either the Brentford games or the Arsenal game. We sent an email from the office saying you need to collect your tickets physically in person on the day of the game at the ticket office, bring an ID, passport. Was the CST involved in that? CST weren't involved in it, but the family advisory board was. So I sit here with two hats, as well as the chair of the CST. I sit on the family advisory board, which I was going to pick up. The family advisory board and have business today. What the club have said is they've written to £200 for the Brentford game and the Arsenal game. What they're trying to do is, something we talked about earlier, is tackle the challenge of, shall we say, secondary ticketing. That's not to suggest that those 200 people are almost access to ticketing, but they are selecting 200 people and asking to come in and prove that. They might do it at away games as well. Yeah, they might do this on a regular basis because they've probably got a viewpoint within those 200. There might be some people who are bona fide. Yeah. I would say if I was selected, if it means me bringing all some ID just to prove who I am, I'd be happy to do that. If it means them removing people that are going to be out on the Brentford and the Arsenal games, which are pilot they're doing here, I think that proves to be a success, and Chelsea will feed back the results of those selections. If they come back and say 191 will actually benefit people, they'll probably cancel that. And again, if they say, well, actually half of them never turn up and play. It'll be an inconvenience. If you are a genuine fan, you might be a long way away. It'll be an inconvenience. But if it means staying packaged and have people push on seconds, for example, for the people who struggle with the virtual waiting room, who primarily only can't get tickets, if that meant 100 tickets more available again, it's just stepping right direction.
this is that begins to avoid doubting within. It seems to me that we didn't ask them for a more essential we all know it's part of it. And yet they won't be able to do it because physically they have nothing to sell. So the only way to sell tickets, that's the job now. The only way is to allocate them. It can only be a good thing. I totally understand the people who follow mobile tickets on what we do need to make announcements in the customers for those. But the rest, that can only be a good thing.
Lloyd today produced a survey from after the Euros were held here in all mobile ticks, and I don't know if you were privy to it, but it was a mobile legal ticketing system. The Euros before that, they saw, I think, the 45% decrease in tickets, made it really difficult. It was really easy to track tickets that were sold on the black market. I would only assume, and I am to my I think Chelsea have seen that and thought it's a winner for us. One of the biggest concerns with regards to mobile ticketing are absolutely valid, and there need to be provisions made for people maybe not so confident with the technology, or if it goes wrong on the day. We've all had a day where our phone battery just goes. So there is some reasons for that, but they'll say actually if this can reduce touting by 20, 30, 40%, it can only be a winner.
The other thing you look at is some people have got the idea when you buy a ticket, you can only buy 4 tickets. You can only buy 20 tickets. You can only buy 4 in one transaction. You actually, you buy those 4 tickets. Do you want to buy more tickets? Yes, I do. Buy 4 more. So it's actually 20 tickets because that's the maximum number of things that have in my account. But sometimes misunderstanding people out. The risk there, though, is that people can sell those tickets on. We've all seen it. I saw it in the week when the Blackbird tickets went on sale. You literally bypass them as a Facebook group with people blowing them on. My recommendation for what it's worth is that the only way to sell tickets, I don't know how you can but actually sell them, is to introduce a ticket exchange for members only. If we did that, then as far as I can see, that's how we solve it. You either allocate them to friends and family via the app, or you sell them via the exchange. But if you sell them via the exchange, you lose your loyalty points. Because that stops harvesting the loyalty points, which we all know you do.
It's a point taking out. I think one comment that I would suggest, if people know that they're going to sell their tickets on the exchange and lose their loyalty points, I would suggest the number of tickets available to get exchanged. And people will pass them on.
No, there's another way to look at it. I'm talking about a ticket exchange purely for members. I totally get to the other one, that's fine as it works at most of the time. I mean, people who are members buying tickets when all they want to do is get to the loyalty points and then sell the ticket on. They're the problem. They're the people we need to, because they don't think about it. You cannot possibly buy 4 tickets at 10 o'clock, and that's something happening in your life, and you can't go to the game and buy more.
I think the other thing that happened people are interested in knowledge of touting. There's a journalist called Clayton with an article that used to be Google Premier League ticket touting rising. Clayton did an article on the 10th of February, and we got shared this article. Top Premier League clubs each have 8 to 12,000 season ticket holders, members, and hospitality tickets under the control of the town, playing a leading security expert. And the reinforcement point you made in the same article, it does say Leeds introduced mobile ticketing last season, and as a result of that, they saw a reduction in touting. There's no full system out there. But again, I could be a tout, I'm not one. I could be a tout and I could have a membership. I could have more than one membership, and I could be in the ticket exchange. Don't mind ticket. Yeah, there's ways around it. Yeah. But by having mobile ticketing, it's a step forward to run things down. And the other thing as well is mobile ticketing actually has the support of the Chief Constable of the National Fleet Council, the Chief Counsel who leads on his name is Mark Roberts. He's basically supports any authority to prevent ticket touting. And I think the other example, as well as I think Arsenal
introduce mobile ticketing.
Absolute nightmare for them on the first day, the whole thing crash. But a really good example is everyone knows like again, it's not a perfect system. If you compare Arsenal, I'm sorry, I'm sad, I look at this record. If you compare Arsenal last season before they introduced mobile ticketing, yes, they still have lots of tickets on live ticketing, but not at the level they had last season. So it hasn't stopped it, it's reduced it.
I'm just aware of time and people's evening commitment. We said we'd wrap up at 4, but we'll probably do 5 more minutes of questions and we'll try and get through. On the chat, there's been a comment, will the CST be seeking, will the club be seeking input from the CST and supporters on the funding and planning of the new stadium? As Mark touched upon on his chairman's report, we fully expect support to be consulted all the way from start to finish, and we've communicated that with the club. And then there was another comment regarding the away coaches, but again, we've touched upon that. Any further questions in the room?
Yes, microphone.
Well, you say about 12,000 seems to go with indemnity just now.
The BCR request.
But right, so to why just what you just said, could they say within a summer period, every season holder has to go up to the club with their passport and prove they are an actual living person, like you were saying, people have to. That would solve that, of the people of the non-existent people who haven't seen them.
Yeah, there's ways around that. Again, farming out. I could have a membership for a season ticket and I can come along and put myself. So, yes, you could. There isn't a perfect system yet, but it's still counting whatever.
But it has to be the actual person.
Yeah.
Now, if it's the same town, it wouldn't have the same purpose.
Oh, yeah, the town could turn up with one identity. Yeah.
And then if he's got his ordinary, then he's got to bring it
Well,
out.
that's why I think the exercise for the Arsenal record then would be interesting. What the results of that exercise would be. Yes. The season ticket holders. You can sell on second ticket holders.
At the moment, there's 2 ways you can potentially do that. Give the card over, but you could also request from the ticket office. So let's say Joe belongs to the season ticket holder who is living in Reading, can't make the game tomorrow against Brentford, he's sick, probably wants to give it to him maybe. He can get an email copy of his season ticket sent to them, forward on to there are lots of ways, so that there is no one solution to this. I live and trust is really hopeful that mobile ticketing will hopefully reduce it significantly and will be looking at the impact, hopefully the impact that it has from next season. Yeah.
And 20 fictitious managing investors of 2020 family, they have all the space of family, they got access to tickets.
And that's why we're saying 95,000 members buying about 5,000 to 6,000 home game tickets for Premier League home game.
That's been made.
But if you look at it, and actually, if you were to kind of attach a person to a membership, it'd be interesting to see how quickly that would drop.
Quick question.
One more question.
Okay, it's about the monetisation and the increases for Westview non-corporate tickets. I think this is maybe a fair question because a lot of people who actually are in Westview, they're not all corporates. They are the people that were in Westview and have just been sort of stuck with these huge rises because they're not wanting to move elsewhere. So while I know the Westview has actually almost sort of taken over by the corporates, there are still a lot of people who are actually in Westview that are not corporate people, but just having to pay the increase in that and about the charging of each ticket as well. being increased. Yeah, right. And let's hope it doesn't become an East View as well. Yeah, I had his seats, yeah.
There are people, and I know some of this with people who sometimes bring a child, sometimes watch the film with the grown-ups. There are people who share things with them. And I think that's really important. I mean, there's even not people attacking people who, especially when it's people with kids, especially when it's people who are perhaps split up from their partner and who have kids. So they can't, some weeks they can come, some weeks they can't. And so they'll share subjects. And now, as far as I'm aware, that's not probably because you're allowed to pass your signature on. But all these measures to stop stuff, that's going to have an effect on those. And that is sometimes the reason, a lot of the reasons we can share it is either because they can't come on with the place or money, and that's going to get more impact on the most vulnerable people. Could I just say in terms of everyone who's saying, oh, the coaches more, and the programs, this, that, and the other, the programs are doing, it does feel to me, I know about the fact that it feels like we're trying to make rubbish as best as possible so people stop buying them, and then they can turn around and say, see, no one buying them, why are we having to do so? And in terms of the coaches, you're right, it's a small amount of the rest of it, but I felt it was a bit more a test of what the supporters felt, and I thought that actually one of the reasons we really need to fight against it was because it was them seeing whether there would be any fight back from supporters, and there needs to be. I think we need to sort of go thus far and no further on a lot of it.
So with regards to transfer of season tickets, you're absolutely right. People share season tickets. Lots of us probably share it either because it's can't attend every Saturday, but also just because actually it's expensive. And if you can cut your profits in half and share it with a mate, fine. So absolutely there needs to be an easy way to transfer your season ticket amongst people, and that absolutely needs to be a complete enough consideration when mobile ticketing comes in. With regards to the various measures, I think you're absolutely right in terms of the penny pinching. We need to be very, very clear. The direction that we're currently going on, penny pinching methods which have been introduced in the last few months by the new CEO, Chris Jurasek, this is only the tip of the iceberg. And I'm not going to dress it up. Expect it to continue to grow. Expect the prices to be driven. Expect it to be put under enormous pressure. And that's sadly the battle that we're in at the moment. It's a real sad reality, but that's where we're going. And there is nothing that I've seen that will convince me otherwise. I apologise for that in advance. I don't make decisions. We can just fight them.
No, there are some questions that are on there that sort of need a bit of a fuller, more detailed answer. So I'm going to be going through all the questions that have come through that we haven't maybe answered, and I'll get back to you via email on those, and we'll probably also share that openly as well with those responses. And that's so thanks very much indeed for that. Just in time. Actually, I would just remind about something on memberships that I just want to add about the credit card. With our credit card systems, quite often there's issues where the credit card is expired and you should get a link. That's maybe some of those emails that end up in your junk folders. So sometimes if you just have a quick look on there, there's a way. And if there's any problems, just get in touch with me and I can sort that out for you.
Just finally, any other business? Or close the meeting? I just got one item of business, just more sharing the information. Bearing in mind it's really good today. We've also got the Chelsea Labour Family Advisory Board. So the Family Advisory Board expanded this year from 2 7 supporters. I went through a recruitment process and it's been selected to be on the Family Advisory Board for the next 2 years. The Family Advisory Board will meet 4 times a year with the club. So again, I am in the unique position that if I can talk to the club 2 hats, I should put 3 hats because it might be so I can talk from the sport plus point of view, from the Family Advisory point of view. Gary's here today, Neil's here today, and we are quite unique in terms of Family Advisory Board. All of the Family Advisory Board members purely by accident or by design, are all CST members as well. So we've got that complete 7 representations from the people on the Thames Rise Board. How the club terms of reference with the FAB, the purpose of the board is to build upon the good work that Chelsea does and continues to do with existing fan groups and fans and access forums, provide a mechanism for effective feedback from the club board and directors and senior management relevant issues related to the club, an active discussion platform with the family board and club related matters. We've only met once so far this year, and that was in August, and that meeting was dedicated completely over to. So the meeting, I presented the survey you've heard about today with all the recommendations. So that was the first item on the agenda. From that, there's been sort of subgroups set up, and obviously one of them is on ticket. So that's why I said it's really important. There's lots of bites we're going to have. We've got the fans forum, we've got the fans advisory board, and then there's a broad discussion with all support groups starting within the year. Ticketing is a really important topic. Each of the fans advisory board members have got a link on the club website. If you're the fans advisory board, you can contact any of the 7 of us directly as well if there's any particular issue. And then we can make representations as well. And as well as the board, fans advisory board meets 4 times a year. They've then 4 separate meetings with the actual board itself. Right, if there's no other business, thanks very much for coming. If anyone still feels hungry, help yourself. So take the food there. If anyone's going to the full candle charity foundation this evening, feel free there. Again, thanks for coming. Thanks to the people on Zoom. Thanks for your time and patience for the slow start today. Yeah, and we'll answer your questions. Thanks everybody. Good to see you.